From pricing power to guest loyalty, this is where short-term rental hosts level up. You're tuned into the STR Booster Podcast.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the STR Booster Podcast, Booked Solid. And today we have the pleasure of Antanas Perez joining us, and he is an expert in the field of automation and tech for the STR industry. And I'm delighted to have him here. We're connected on LinkedIn, and I enjoy his content. And I really believe that in this moment, we really need to have a deeper understanding and awareness of the things that are burning out short-term rental hosts. And so this episode is dedicated to leveraging tech to avoid host burnout. So Antanas, welcome.
Hi, David. Thank you very much for having me. And yeah, I'm super excited to be here and
My pleasure. And so I'm just going to get straight into it. What's the most common burnout scenario you see among hosts today? And how do you know tech can fix it?
Cool. So the most common scenario is hosts and property managers. Like they start with very few properties. So they usually start doing it as a side hustle. They start probably doing it with their own property. They realize it's very profitable. And then they start to acquire properties and managing more properties. When they realize they have 30 properties and the small tasks that used to be really, really small start to take a lot of time. So it's like guest communication, coordinating cleanings, chasing tasks. And at the beginning, they're very proud because, they see the phone is working, things are going on. But then slowly, they start to get tired of the messages during the weekend at midnight. And they had this idea of they would build a business that will give them freedom. And it's actually not true, as the business is owing them and they start to burn out. Then how do I know tech can fix it? Because I've seen it firsthand. I work with several companies in the short-term rental sector where repetitive tasks were killing all the joy for founders. Founders were working crazy hours. They were having huge margins, but you could see in their face that it was not fun. And by automating the small tasks, you see that they stop doing all these tasks that are boring and repetitive, and they start to focus again on the big things like strategy, growing, and that's the bit that they enjoyed. That's the bit that they wanted at the beginning.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I mean, I have, been in the game, and I know that the hospitality industry is a game of many hats. People wear a lot of hats, and it's very difficult for solo operators or small teams to really be able to get on top of everything. And it is overwhelming, but there are so many different things to do. And there's so many things that are emotionally draining, which are like bad reviews or guests that are a problem, or just dealing with housekeeping, all these things. And so there's the complexity is compounded by just the intensity of the entire operation and how it can actually be burdensome on someone's emotions, because it's a deeply personal type of business. And so, yeah, I totally can relate to what you're saying, having been there myself. But so, I mean, how do we address this? I mean, from your work, what are the top 2-3 repetitive tasks that eat up hosts' time unnecessarily?
Well, I think the two big areas that are is clear that is killing everyone is first, guest messaging. So you're answering messages like what's the Wi-Fi code, and that's something that you shouldn't be doing, but because it's very easy to automate. But silly simple messages take you a lot of time, and then the operations like housekeeping, maintenance, they are not that easy to run. So you end up spending a lot of time scheduling the housekeeper. Have you arrived to the property? Then they have a problem. You don't know what to do with it. You have to help them. So I think those two areas around guest messaging and scheduling and housekeeping and maintenance management, they are very repetitive, and it feels like it's something you have to do, but it's something that you don't have to do, and it takes a lot of your time unnecessarily.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of these things are really simple things, aren't they? I mean, but they compound a lot, and it's typically these so-called mundane things that are the big consumers of time and energy and stuff. And But I'm curious, why do so many hosts wait until they're already burned out before looking at tech solutions? It seems strange to me. What do you think?
I think that at the beginning, it feels manageable. So you are like small and you're getting a couple of messages. And it's like, it's not that much work. So I'll just do it myself. And then as you grow, it starts to compound and it grows exponentially. Like when you have a big issue, it doesn't take you 5 more minutes. It's like it takes you hours, drains all your energy. And as you grow, you start to have more of those big issues. And I think also maybe there are many hosts that don't know that there is a better way. Like there is a better way with automation, and it's not something that you need to be like big. You don't need to spend a ton of money to be there. But because they don't know that it exists and it feels good to be the one managing, answering the questions, I think they wait a lot until a point where it's like, okay, I'm burning myself. This is not enjoyable. Let's go on and try to find some solutions.
Very insightful there. So if you had to build a minimum viable tech stack for a host, what would it include?
So I think it depends on the scale and of the goals of the host. So it's like, do you want to stay small? And that's perfectly fine. Like you want to manage 5 properties, 10 properties. That's your ambition. You don't want to go more. Like you want to go beyond. Then a good PMS with a good pricing tool will do the work. So you have like one place that connects with all the channels, a unified inbox, and a pricing tool that allows you to optimize your prices. If you have that and you're small, it'll go a long way. And I think that's what most PMSs are selling. Then if you really want to scale, you want to go for hundreds of properties, then that's not enough. Yes, you need the PMS, which will be like your backbone, but this will only manage the booking side, the connection to the channels, the property information. You will need the pricing tool because you want to be competitive, but then you start to need other tools. So you need to have a unified inbox. Some PMS offer this, some others don't. You will need to have as any company an internal task management system. So when you're getting like a request, how are you making sure that it happens? Because you don't have one request. Now you're big, you have 50 requests. So you need tools to manage those internal tasks. Then you'll probably be doing operations yourself. Like it depends on your how you organize yourself. If you're doing operations yourself, you'll need a field management tool. You'll need to know that the tasks are getting completed. You need to know how long they took. You need to be able to manage the payments. Then you will also need internal communication tools because you have a team. How do you communicate with them? Then you need to have a central place with all the information. Like as you scale, is not good enough to have the information in your head. Like the information needs to be in a place that is accessible. You need all this connected to an accounting system and a BI system. And then, like the critical bit is you need an automation layer that takes all the systems and put them together so you don't have to be copying things around. So I think it's like when you are small, like you need probably very simple tools. But as you scale, you really need like a huge like software ecosystem. And it's an ecosystem that any big business or like medium-sized business will need. So it's more like, you need a bigger tech stack as if you have bigger ambitions.
Okay. But I mean, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Can you share an example of an automation or AI solution you built that drastically reduced workload for a client?
Cool. You can classify those in big wins, which is like you do a lot of work and then you get a big win, and then there are a lot of small ones, but you get small wins and they add up. On the big wins, as you scale, an area that becomes very problematic is finance and accounting. So a lot of companies, when they do the monthly owner statements, because they don't have all the information organized and connected, they have to do it manually. I worked with some companies. It was taking probably 10 days with 5 people working on it to create the statements. And it was like this huge drag of resources. And what we did is we understood like the whole ecosystem. We connected all the tools, and then it was like nowadays it's a couple of hours of work with one person. You do clicks and you do checks, and that's it. But that's a big win where like the company went from several days with several people to like a single person, a couple of hours. Then on the small hand side, like on the area where like small automations, there are a ton of really small things that have a big impact. So for example, scheduling. Every week you have to share your schedule with your cleaners. You can create a tool that automatically generates the schedule and automatically sends it to them. and it's something that will save you 1 or 2 hours per week to do one click, and it's a small task. AI answering guest questions, that removes hours of messaging, and then like proper onboarding systems, like where you have everything documented, organized. That also saves hours like of doing the system of onboarding, but also hours later because you have all the information in one place.
Wow, it sounds like there's a lot of scope here. And it feels like a lot of operators are really in the dark ages when it comes to these things. But how do we balance automation with hospitality? For example, I've noticed that host sphere automation makes things feel less personal. How do you design tech that still feels human?
Cool. Great question. I think there's like the question in the industry of what in what part of the business you need to add your personal part, like your human part. And like you need to do it in the right places, not everywhere. And when you really think about the tasks that you're doing, like not all of your tasks need the warm interaction, the warm welcome. So it's like how do you save your time so you can be human in the moments that are important. So you wanna when you interact with a guest, if you're doing it in person, you have the energy, you can be human, you can be nice. But then there are a lot of areas that is they don't need that human touch. Like if you're going to create a schedule for your cleaners, like you don't need to be human on that side, like to follow the rules and you need to answer that. If you will have a question around Wi-Fi, like you want to answer something nice, but you're not really adding or transforming the guest experience by sharing the Wi-Fi codes, like you just have to share them quickly. Like checking instructions, like you want to share something nice, but again, like eventually you can organize something that feels human and is all automated. So I think is around focusing on the areas where efficiency matters more than the human touch, and then that will give you more time and more energy to spend your human aspect in the areas where it's very important.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Actually, you and I have spoken about like the whole process part of the thing where people don't look at the process first. And so I'm wondering like, where's the line between efficiency and over automation? Because isn't there need to document and to create a process for standard operating procedures for things before you really start to automate? So how do we balance this? So where's the line?
The line is where the effort to automate something outweighs the actual value. Like as you're saying, like the most common mistake that I say is like companies will have an idea that is unproven. So it's like I have this idea of this automation that will be amazing, that will revolutionize everything, that you have never tried it. Like you don't know if it works or if it doesn't. Then you go, you get some tech, you build the automation, and when everything is automated, you realize that it actually doesn't work. Like it doesn't do the job, or it's not helping, it's not adding the value that you really thought about it. So I think it's super important to first prove the value of things. So make sure that things are going to have an impact. Then as you were saying around SOPs, that's another big common issue, is like you don't know how things are really done. So having the SOPs, make sure that what you automate is actually the right thing to do, because that's how we run things here. So it's like prove value, have SOPs, and then go for it, automate.
That's really interesting. I mean, it's really about logic, isn't it? I mean, everything is so chaotic a lot of time with short-term rentals, and a lot of hosts don't take the time to actually think through things logically because it's such a fast-paced business. I've been there, and I'm not like trying to, put anybody down, but I know that once you get into the heat of things, it's really easy to just get caught up and get caught in the busy work type of mode. A lot of exciting things happening in AI right now, and I'm curious to know, with AI evolving so fast, what innovations you see happening or coming within the next 2 to 3 years that could totally change workflows and business, the whole business in general.
I think the big thing that I see coming is a bit like the vision that we have at Cresco. Is like we believe that before you needed a huge team to manage like your business as you grew, so more units. meant more people. In the next years with tech, with automation, I see very small teams managing huge portfolios. So it's like teams of 2-3 people managing huge portfolios. Of course, like the operations are outsourced, but I see that happening with the right processes. So teams that have everything standardized, the right SOPs, of course the right tech. So it's like you have the right tools, everything is connected, and then AI helping in some of the bits that where it can help. So it can help with some of the messages, some like scheduling, reporting. There will still be some room for escalations that you will still need a human. And yeah, like everything working, talking together. So I think that will happen in the next years. Like is just how you build the right company and the right organization to get to that place.
It's fascinating. So if you could give one piece of advice to hosts listening today who want to future-proof their business and avoid burnout, what would it be?
I think my main advice would be to remember that there is a better way. Like burnout is not the normal cost. It's not the normal way of hosting. A lot of the admin tasks that you're doing might feel good at the beginning, but they can be automated with today's tools. So it's like don't accept like this is not enjoyable and it's just how hosting works. So I'll just go with it. It's like no, there are ways to do things better, and for you to try it yourself. It's like start small, like take one small automation, try to automate it with some tools and see that it can be done. And imagine if you could do the same with a lot of different tools. Like there's a better way, and just remember that.
That's so important to understand, and I really think that we are on the frontier of major things. It's super exciting, and I think that you guys at Cresco are actually pushing boundaries. So tell us a bit more about Cresco and what you do and how listeners can connect with you and what value you add.
Cool. Yeah. So at Cresco, we have this vision that in the next years, we think that companies with the right tools will be able to scale to huge property sizes with very few people. So what we do is we help companies achieve this vision, and we help them with tech, with AI, but also with processes. We think that the right processes with the right tech, you can do incredible things. So we help short-term rental companies. We focus only on this sector, and we help them achieve this vision. If you want to connect with me, you can connect with me on LinkedIn, or you can visit the website, which is Cresco with ss.dev, and then like drop me a message or send a message on the website, and super keen to help and to share insights about what we're seeing and the experience we're having with companies at the moment.
Thank you very much, Antanas from Cresco, who is pushing the new frontier of operations in short-term rentals, and as he mentioned, specializing in short-term rentals, which I think is tremendous. And so I'd like to thank you for being on the show today, and I think you've illuminated the conversation with a lot of really important facts and insights. I'd like to give you the last say. Was there anything that you'd like to leave, any thought you'd like to leave with our listeners before we wrap up?
First, I want to thank you for creating this space. We need like a space for specialists on the short-term rental to discuss and find better ways of doing things. Like the world is changing fast, and the industry needs to keep up. And then like for listeners, like just think there's like a better way. Like the traditional way is not the right way. Like with AI and with tech, everything is changing very fast. So it's important to embrace this revolution that is happening.
That's awesome. Well, certainly inspired, and I thank you. And that's it for STR Booster Podcast episode for this week. And on behalf of STR Booster, I'd like to thank Antanas. I'd like to thank you, listeners, and we'll see you next time. All right, take care.